Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the HGLRC RaceWhoop30. Hopefully it was clear. That was 3 different camera angles on those crashes. So 3 times fewer crashes that you've seen, but that was actually day 2 of crashing, which kind of hurts my heart a little bit, but here's day 1 of crashing. And that was 2 camera angles. Redundancy, make sure I capture the crashes. And the damage report, well, you can see there that one prop, this guy right here, he just obliterated and completely flew away. I don't know, ended up in the yard somewhere. And another prop, the blades all broke off. But the main portion of the damage wasn't really to the quad at all. The quad held up great. You know, these ducks are printed in PCTPE. That's what I'm told it's printed from. I don't really know 3D printing all that much, but the battery, holy catfish, the battery. Look at this wonky oblong battery. This thing took a lot of damage, and of course I put it on a charger after day 2 of crashing and did the destroy on it, and it stays in its own bag, and when I'm done recording this video, it's going to go all the way away. Some of the specs on the quad. We've got the Caddx Ratel FPV camera. This is the analog edition. There is also an HD edition with DJI Caddx Vista. The motors on here are the HGLRC Aeolus 2105.5 motors. And those are 3600 kV. Also down inside here is an all-in-one board that is the Zeus F7, and it has a 28 amp ESC built in. You really can't see this. That's why I'm not really doing my typical format. We have a carbon fiber plate up top and a carbon fiber plate down below, and the rest of it is printed. We'll look at more details and a little finer look at the ducks after all the crashing after we get through the flight section of the video. I'm a micro guy, so this kind of matters. XT60 for your battery connection. I only got a few of those. I did fly it on mainly for the flight footage that's a full flight on this Infinity 4S 1300 milliamp battery. The props on here are the GemFan D76 props. The package contents, according to the website, indicate you get an extra set of props. I got 2 extra set of props, probably because they told me to do some crashing, and I did. The props are fairly interesting. They're kind of a 2-part prop. Hopefully you can see that. They're 5-bladed, and we've got this void in here where this little plastic piece goes in because the motor stems are not your traditional motor stem size. Hopefully you can see that right there. They're a little bit smaller motor stems. I think those are 1.5 millimeter motor stems. The VTX inside here is the Zeus Nano. That is a power switchable from pit mode all the way up to 350 milliwatts. And that's really about it. Some of the things you get besides the extra props that are already mentioned. On their website, they point out a USB adapter. Surely I need to make that clear. See the USB port right up here. It's kind of embedded and mounted to the top carbon fiber plate. That's a good idea. That may be what they're mentioning, but the image on the website shows a couple of different USB adapters. Need to make sure that that's a point. You get the screw and the nut that you need to attach an HD camera. I did not fly it with an HD camera though because, well, I was doing a lot of crashing. I guess my focus was durability. You also get a set of M2 screws, an extra battery strap, paperwork about your receiver, the board, the motor rotation, and a sheet of stickers. And one thing that you'll have the opportunity to get that I just didn't have is different camera angles. They will either have different camera angles available for you when you purchase to select, or they'll have STL files so you can print your own. As you can see, hopefully that camera angle, that's pretty extreme. My calculation, this would be about level. This would be the camera angle that I'm flying at. Hopefully in that crash footage you could kind of see as I come in. And it's worth noting in that crash footage that, you know, it's not a full frontal full force. You know, it's coming in at a high angle. So when it would hit the tree, it would rotate up. And that's why that battery got all sorts of messed up. It weighs just a touch over 328 grams. I put this prop on top because that was the one that exploded on one of the crashes. And with the battery, I flew it on the Infinity 300 milliamp 4S battery. It weighs 488.25 grams. Motor post to motor post, I'm getting 148.5 millimeters. Bottom carbon fiber plate looks to be 2 millimeters thick, and so does the top. So while the day is cloudy, it's actually calm, so that's nice. Made it comfortable outside. Again, I am flying that 1300 milliamp 4S battery, and this thing does weigh a lot. We're not going to get anywhere near under the 250 gram limit that we sometimes shoot for. This one is about, I would say, bando bashing, or if you're someone who just wants a quad that is probably going to be much more durable than your prototypical quad, you might be looking at this. It comes in the two formats, the analog format, which I'm showing you here, as well as the DJI version. I expect the DJI version to weigh somewhere around 25 grams more than the weights that I've shown you already. Of course, the camera mount would be different as well, and I would hope that they have different camera mounts available for that version as well. But I first became aware of the RaceWhoop on RC Group's forum. Unfortunately, I don't have a good understanding of the actual history. My basic understanding is it kind of has its roots with the Bando Racing group in France, possibly. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're out there and you're part of that group and you'd like to educate me, I'm all for that. I didn't dig deep into doing my homework and research there. I just like to fly and tinker things. This is my hobby, something I do for fun, for relaxation, and for giggles and grins sometimes. But I was very pleased that those crashes only resulted in a mashed up battery, which is fully expected, and I only lost 2 props, which I kind of expected to lose a lot more than that. So overall, I was pretty happy with that, and I think the flight performance is good. It's just heavy, and I think we all know that by the weights that we show already. You know, it's a 3-inch prop. It is 5-bladed. It is going to be pretty noisy, so it's not going to be something you're going to take to a park and try to keep quiet. We are going to get a 3-minute flight time, over a 3-minute flight time on this particular battery, but I think most people would expect a longer flight time. But it's a limitation of having 3-inch props and this weighted quad. But for something that's ducted and weighing this much, and I'm flying it with that pretty high camera angle, I tend to use high camera angle, but this is very high camera angle. I thought it flew well. It handled dives. That was one of my initial concerns, was that when you're coming down from dives, we have a tendency to wash out, or yaw wash out, however you want to coin that, to where the whoop or the quad would just kind of pitch up uncontrollably and then yaw one way or another. Usually in my case, I find it yaws to the right. Maybe it's just because my stick is already kind of pointed in that direction, but I didn't find that with this. It didn't matter how many punch outs I did or what kind of punch outs I did or what kind of wind, it just didn't do it. And it's probably, in some regards, has to do with the weight, the construction of the whoops, the fact that we've got 2105.5 motors on there, so we got a lot of motor, and we appear to have the ESC to handle it as well. And the ESC living through the crashes is pretty important because those props were definitely striking those printed ducts, which, according to the website, those ducts are printed in PC TPE, so that should mean something to those out there that know their filaments. Here we're going to come in for the end of the flight, and we see there we got 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Our battery is over 14 volts, which for a 4-cell battery is good. And you can see our average cell voltage there in the lower left, which is above 3.5 volts per cell, which is where, or close to where I want to land. So let's look at the underside here, because I want to show you my beat up props and the ducting a little bit. You can see all through the ducting, and the props have dug into it. You know, that's, again, to be expected. But we really don't have any damage to the ducts. This is the only section I could claim to have some damage. Hopefully I can get enough light down in there. You see where the prop. Hopefully you can see. Let me see if I get an angle like this. See this part that's sticking out right over here? That's where the duct hit, or the prop hit the duct a little bit and chopped some of that print away just down here. Hopefully you can tell that those taper down. So they're quite thick up at the top, and then they taper down as they get closer and further into the duct. Also, the duct structure, hopefully that comes through in video. It's kind of like this. I don't know what shape you would call that, but so the duct is shaped in this particular way, and then the duct shapes on the outside correspond to that. Of course, the ducts are thicker at the top. They actually get the thickest kind of in the middle, and then they taper back down here at the bottom. And something else that's interesting is they interlock here. And so even after all the crashing, and I didn't show you all my crashes, I showed you my staged crashes, but I had crashes learning to fly this thing as well, because it was a big adjustment. I've never flown something at this weight before, never, especially not something with 3-inch props flying a battery this size. That was a very new experience for me. But if I try to grab these and pull on them and stuff, you can see how they're interlocked and secured with this post that runs through here. And we get that all the way around. So it has that kind of interlocking mechanism. Again, our camera angle is way up there. It's a nice camera. It's the Caddx Ratel. And so if you're flying analog, this is the camera that you get. I believe it's the only option that they offer on the website. Something I didn't highlight, but they do have a rubberized battery mat here. I kind of thought, because we're going to be using bigger batteries, that mat should have been a little bit bigger, but they have the consideration for the USB port here on the other side, so maybe that's why the battery mat is just kind of this square. Didn't have a problem with it, but it was something to think about there. Also, when I would fly mine, obviously I toilet tanked it going sideways. If toilet tank, I don't know where that phrase comes from. Running it in traditional manner, I don't think is going to work. You're not going to be able to use these straps and get them through this way. Plus, we've got the USB port that is mounted over here. So this is probably how you're going to fly, just like I did. Obviously, with the mount at the back for the antennas, I've got FR Sky, so it's got these particular antennas. You can see where the antennas were striking the tree as well. But we have a spot for crossfire on that antenna if you wanted to use crossfire, which I know there are many people who do. We've also got the HGLRC hammer antenna out back here. Hopefully I can show you that a little bit. It's actually squeezed between that joint. I mean, it's in there firm. I mean, oh, I got it to move. That surprised me. So it can slide out, but it's taking some force there. It's really pinched in there quite well. There's not much to show you inside without tearing this down, and I don't know how many people would actually be interested in that. I did see, as I was looking through one of the holes, and maybe you can see it right there too, we do have a capacitor built in down there if that's important to you. And what size of capacitor that is, I have no idea. I did mention the motor shafts. There are 1.5 millimeter. You can see this kind of this different style. And we have the prop that I mentioned. You may not be able to see that very well. So it has kind of a centerpiece here that goes inside, and it's a little bit wonky at getting it down in there. But obviously I was able to do it because I did change a prop. It just takes a moment. You've got to get it lined up where it's directly going to slide in, and then you can push the prop back on the shaft, and then you can tighten the screw or the nut down. That is one area where some people might have some concern, is about motor shaft durability. I can't go much further than to just crash it more, I guess, but I've already shown you, I think it was 9 or 12 crashes in total. Of course, I had 3 different camera angles in one section and 2 different camera angles in another section. So a number of crashes, and it obliterated a prop. I don't see where there's any damage other than these props. The props do give a fair bit, and you can see where the damage has occurred out here on my fins when I would prop strike out here on the whoop. I just noticed something. I should call this out. This little bit right here appears to have torn. I don't think a prop could have done that, but it's possible. We might... Maybe that's from one of the crashes after I hit the tree and came down on the ground. Possibly. I don't know for certain. I just noticed that as I was talking through this section of the video. One thing they did do to the top here, which I think is important, is they secured all our motor wires to one of the supports or struts of the whoop or the duct. So that's secured all the way down. You'll need to remember that replacing motors, if you were to need to, is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Of course, working on this is going to be a challenge because it is essentially encapsulated. Everything is kind of inside this little small area here in the middle. And of course, to get to a motor, unless you're going to snip the motor wires clear out here and do your replacement out here, you're going to have to take these plates apart, and you're going to have to take the whoops probably and disconnect those in order to be able to get the motor wires in and out and solder them to the ESC or the all-in-one board down in there. I think it's also important to note that the motor screws they did use are a little bit specialized, and we didn't get any extras. They have this flaring out that they do to really grab this sort of duct better to make sure the motor stays where it's supposed to. Not our typical motor mounting nuts by any stretch. They have a much flatter profile, but they're much wider. This is the best look I can give you of the motors. Kind of a cool and stylish motor there. It gives you some idea of the structure. Maybe it gives you some idea of the durability of the bell and the housing to see how that might hold up. You know, there's not a lot of material up here across the top. Again, we're really protected from the outside. I'm not concerned by that, but of course, I show you so that you can make your own decisions. At the time of this recording, I do not know how much this is going to cost. They have a web page available that I can see and look at, but they don't have the pricing. Right now, the pricing is almost $1,000, which we know it's not going to be that. So if you are interested in this product, or you're just curious about how much it's going to cost, I'll have a link to the HGLRC website and any other website that might be selling this product, and you can vote with your dollar. Support your favorite shops with your dollar if you are interested in this very durable RaceWhoop30 from HGLRC. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I hope that was fun watching the crashes at least. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the HGLRC